Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sacred Knights podcast. I am your host, Jeff Richards, and this episode, I'll be talking about the characters I created for The Legend of the Sacred Knights. The main thing about characters is they always have to give something that most people don't always see, such as something to help represent a person through their eyes. And in fantasy storytelling, I like to show the creativity that comes with what usually defies what's real. For today, I want to go a little deeper and talk specifically about how these characters shape the world around them, especially what they bring to the story. We'll begin with Lycanwolf, my main protagonist. He's a heroic figure that carries a strong sense of courage and leadership. He represents the kind of character who is willing to stand against the darkness, even when the path is difficult. Being the master of water and also leader of the team, he carries a lot of burdens on him. Because he tries to understand that there's a much bigger struggle going on. Because apart from the fact that Lycanwolf may be his Metazonian name, his human name is Luke. Because he may be human on Earth, but in Metazona, he's a fierce wolf warrior. And he may have more secrets behind him that he doesn't even know about. And he's not just part of the journey, he helps define it. Next, we have Kestra. She brings strength, intelligence, and heart to the team. She's the most important part that gives the Sacred Knights balance. In fantasy, some characters stand out through sheer force, while others leave an impact through presence, insight, and the way they hold their ground in different moments. Kestra is one of those characters who adds depth to the group and reminds us that true strength is not limited to one form. Because she is also the intelligent member of the team. Because she likes to understand using her wisdom and wits and knowledge to help solve the problems they have to deal with on this journey. What makes her so unique to me is that I envisioned her as a bird, but I wanted her to have a more meaningful role. So I made her an eagle, and eagles happen to represent freedom and knowledge, which is something most people will wish to understand more. And being the master of wind, she's capable of many different things, whether it be through the power of wind or through the strength of her bow. Next, we have Barris. He represents power, dependability, and steadiness. Every fantasy team benefits from a character that feels grounded, someone whose strength gives others confidence when danger arises. Barris brings that kind of energy to the story. He feels like a solid force within the team. Because being the master of Earth and the bear champion, he also brings a lot of strength to the team, but he also brings in heart, which is what he represents even more, because he's more than just strength. And he's a solid force within the team and someone whose presence not only matters in battle, but the overall balance of the group. Then finally, we have Leazar, the lion member of the team and the Master of Fire. He adds a strong layer to the Sacred Knights. Each member has a distinct role and personality. Leazar helps strengthen that dynamic by bringing force, identity, and a presence that helps the group feel complete. When building a team, it is important that the characters do not blur together. Leazar is part of the Sacred Knights to feel like a true feels like a true group of individuals that rather than just a collection of heroes, because unity is what makes them stronger together. And though his element may be fire, but he's also brave and strong, or maybe a bit of a hothead, depending on how you view it. Then next we come to some side characters that play an important role. First, we have Master Ezekiel, who carries the role of mentor. He carries this role with wisdom and guidance. Characters like him are important in a fantasy because they help connect the heroes to a deeper understanding of the world, its dangers, its purpose, and him being a mentor doesn't always have to be defined by him being just a teacher. He represents legacy, truth, and the weight of knowledge. Ezekiel helps bring a sense of meaning to the story and reminds us that the fight between light and darkness is larger than any single battle. Next, we have Fiona, the leopard apprentice to Master Ezekiel. She's curious about the world around her in more ways than one. She wants to see what Metazona is really like outside the temple, but she also is fascinated with the magic of the world, but she also wants to see something even more. She wants to learn more about the other worlds that are out there, far beyond Metazona's borders, or even its world, even the world's borders, such as she would like to learn about Earth itself. She adds a sort of a more of a grounding presence because he helps connect us with Metazona in various ways. She helps informs the characters about the locations they go to. She acts as more of a guide, and she does what she can to prove herself as a trustworthy friend. Then next we have Shadowfang, one of the villains I have created for this story. He is a powerful presence that adds a larger amount of danger and tension. Villains are at their strongest when they feel like they're more than obstacles. Shadowfang has that kind of presence that suggests that conflict, history, and threat. He brings darkness closer to the heroes and helps create the feeling that the world is facing something truly dangerous. A character like him strengthens the story and makes the struggle feel real. And next, we have Pantheress, the Black Panther sorcerer who the Knights defeated many centuries ago. Though the Knights themselves don't really know this entirely, but the legend goes that he nearly conquered the world and nearly spread his evil all over it. But the Knights themselves managed to defeat him. And some say he may be, he may have been some say he may have failed, but there is a possibility that he may have transcended death. And he represents the deeper evil behind the conflict. He acts as a sort of the source of the evil because because he acts as a sort of influence for Shadowfang. He may not be directly with his Shadowfang, but but his story influenced our main antagonist. In fantasy, villains feel dangerous because they are strong. Others tend to feel dangerous because they seem tied to the very darkness haunting the world itself. Panthers carries that kind of weight because he represents that force that makes the hero's journey truly significant. And that will be all the characters I will be discussing today. But what I enjoy about these characters is that they help shape the world in different ways. Heroes give the story heart. The mentor gives it wisdom. Villains give it danger, and together they create the emotional and dynamic core of the adventure. That's one of the reasons that characters matter in such stories. We may remember magical worlds and epic battles, but we stay invested because of the people at the center of it all. Like, for example, most people who've read the Harry Potter books, they mostly feel grounded in the magical world of Hogwarts because they're seeing it through the eyes of Harry himself. And we try to at least understand how it differs in various ways. Or in Narnia, like we would all like to see this magical world ourselves, but we see it through the eyes of different people, most notably the Pevensey children, or other characters that appear throughout the hundreds of years that Narnia existed, throughout all 7 books. There's always more to fantasy than people always give it credit for. And if I would recommend some good books to read, I'd recommend reading The Chronicles of Narnia and probably read The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, because J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis wrote very imaginative worlds. Or if you're a modern reader who wants to understand things a bit more decent, try reading Percy Jackson or Harry Potter. Many great fantasy stories help influence us all. And the characters is what makes The Legend of the Sacred Knights the story that it is. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Sacred Knights podcast. I'm J.F. Richards, and until next time, keep reading, keep imagining, and keep the adventure alive.